Well, y'all, welcome to the Road Students Podcast. I'm Elijah, and today I've got Dan with me. Dan Spears is one of our Connect group leaders here at the Road. He works with our amazing 8th grade guys that keep him young.
Love them though.
They're awesome. They're a lot of fun. And it takes a special man to help lead the 8th grade guys.
Got a good cast. So
we got you, Zach Davis, and
we got Chad Coulter. And now we have John Hamlin.
That's right.
We got a fourth, so we're going strong.
That's right. So Dan actually taught for us last night, and so we're here with Dan, and we're going to kind of talk through it. So, Dan, what was kind of the main topic? What was the scripture you used, and how'd it go?
Yeah. So last night, we kicked it off with a bang. Very simple, but a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away anger, but a harsh word stirs up wrath. So we just jumped straight into it, broke it down. Do we do best for our middle school students and give them an opportunity to really understand what they're reading, really talk through it like a parent would talk to their kids.
Yeah.
And the gist of it is like what we say and how we say things matter. That gives us a certain power, gives us a certain influence. And we talked about last night how we can use that to better dictate the outcome. Instead of conflict, we can settle for resolution.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. You guys are still in this. Was this the last?
This was the last in the Chico series.
In the Chico, yeah. So gaining wisdom from God's word, and I think that's huge. Even Jesus talks about how blessed are those who are peaceful, who are peacemakers, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's part of this whole, a gentle answer turns away wrath.
Yeah.
It's and I know, and I got to step in and hear you talk a little bit. We talk about how oftentimes as guys we
struggle with that.
We do.
Girls they really get the bad end of the stick because they're like, oh, girls have drama. They have all these things because they hear about girls' conflict. But the thing is, nobody talks about the dudes. The dudes have more drama than girls. They beef all the time over stupid stuff.
They do. They do have some beef, and we like to one up each other.
That's true. It's more of a pride thing. Like, hey, I can't just settle for not saying anything and being the bigger man. I got to get the last word in.
Yeah, that last word that is.
It hits too close to home for me, which I think is why it was such a good series. Literally, like I was talking with some of our other leaders, like this was about me, my entire middle school life, my adult life. It's common. It's a thing.
Well, I think that's what's awesome when you've got someone who's teaching on something that you're preaching to the choir, right? You're preaching to yourself because this is impact, and I think that definitely helps when you are teaching it because you're vulnerable and transparent with those kids,
right?
So you guys talked about how you've got to control your tongue when talking with people and talking about different scenarios of.
We hit a lot of things last night, and I think I really wanted to do the demonstration with the watermelons, but I did not want the mess that comes with it. So being able to really look at and put it into let their mind like interact with this, like you can. When you're talking to somebody, you've got a conflict that's arising. If you jump in there and you come at somebody sideways, like they insult you, you insult them back, you're literally adding fuel to the fire. So one of the things we talked about last night was we don't need to give somebody what they're giving us. We need to kind of take a moment to check ourselves, take a step back, I think was one of my points last night. Like you just hit pause, take a step back, evaluate what's going on and kind of dictate how you can change that outcome.
Yeah.
So I gave them the illustration. Imagine I had a watermelon and all the chaos that comes with the drama and the conflicts, the anger. Imagine hitting that watermelon with a sledgehammer. You can just see their eyes light up like it's going to make a mess.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was we talked about here's how you can solve that and take a different approach, a different angle, break that cycle and that habit and really do something different so you can affect the outcome of that. And that second example was taking the same watermelon, but it cut it with a knife. There's no mess. It's clean. It's crisp. You don't have anything to unpack and pick up later, like you were apologizing for a bigger mess.
Yeah, and I think it's important for students to understand, like, we're still supposed to share truth.
Yeah.
Right. But it depends on how we address things.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay to have some kind of disagreement or have conflict, but like I said, taking a step back is huge.
Yeah.
Because it's giving you time to process your thoughts. It's giving you time to figure out what exactly you want to say so that you're not rambling on, or you're not just throwing things out there and trying to insult and hurt another person, because that's oftentimes what happens, right?
Yeah.
We want to hurt this person because they hurt us. They got us all up in our feels.
It was absolutely amazing last night to see them and like ask them questions and watch how they respond. Mm-hmm. Asking them like, how many of you have said things like that you didn't mean? Mm-hmm. You said it because you were in the moment. You were angered, you were disappointed, you were sad. You said something you didn't mean. And every hand just shot up. And I was like, hey, that's me. I'm guilty of that. I do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a real struggle.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what we're going to talk about is how we can use wisdom from that verse to really break that habit, because that's our first instinct.
Yeah. And I think truth is like that knife, right? It's direct.
Yes.
And it is like purposeful. It's
Absolutely.
precise.
It's intentional.
And I think when we are addressing disagreements, or we have some kind of conflict, taking the step back, getting that time to let things settle down, but then saying, hey, I want to share this truth with you because I care about you.
Yeah.
Right. And if we care about something, we're going to share that truth. We talked a little bit about that in high school as well. So I love how our series kind of run together a little bit.
Yeah, they intertwine a lot.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys talked about that you wanted to
Man, it really,
share?
that, like I said, that's a very simple verse to unpack and talk about. And it really gets our students engaged, gets them really thinking about like, what can I do differently? And a lot of times, like, I didn't even think about it, but right before you walked in our room, one of our students, I was asking about communication, like, how can we do that? How can we communicate our feelings better as a way to stop all this from happening before it gets out of hand? And a lot of guys were like, man, I struggle with pride. Like, I don't want to admit that I'm in the wrong or I'm doing the wrong thing. But you have that, we also discussed it, you have that little brief window before it gets out of your hands that you can make that decision. Like, you know what, I can take a step back. I can not listen to what this guy, I'm not give into that and give them that reaction that person's trying to get out of me. And it's a total game changer.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to take a couple of hits on the chin, right?
It's not fun to just walk away, especially when your peers are around. And, we're talking about middle school students, this is their life. This is their culture. And they're used to being in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard for them to go, you know what, everybody's watching me. All the eyes are seeing me and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's very hard for them to acknowledge, like, I could just be quiet and walk away.
And the tough part about that too is if you do take that step back and you admit, man, I was in the wrong in this situation. I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm going to admit that I was wrong. I'm going to be honest. There's always, there might be someone who still wants to continue that. And it's like, look, if they're going to continue, oh my gosh, sorry. If they're going to continue to go at you, like you still have to make the decision that I'm not going to engage in this. Right.
And it really, I mean, my guys were full of examples last night. And, it may not be the outcome that you wanted. Like, even if you take a step back and do all those things and apply those ways to break the habits, you still may have not received the outcome that you were expecting.
Yeah.
There may not be a fight, but doesn't mean that, it's all sunshine and rainbows, but that's life. And what we're teaching them is how to take this and really culture and evolve and look for opportunities to really de-escalate and move into a peaceful resolution.
Yeah, and I think to wrap this up, I think the big picture of this is living that way looks so different than how other people live now.
And it's hard.
We're called to be a light in this world, right? So that our actions point people towards God. Like the things that we do, the things that we say should be honoring God, so that people are like, man, there's something different about Dan.
Yeah.
Right. Why does he not engage in confrontation like that? Why does he take time to respond to things? And why does he allow people to say things about him? there's something different, and that opens a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely.
The reason why is because God has called me to live my life differently.
Yeah.
Right. To live at peace with people by any means.
Yeah.
Right. If it's under my control. Right.
Yeah. We're supposed to live our lives in the likeness of God and how He would do things. And, I told our guys last night, people are watching you always. And we tell all of our students that, even our adults. People are always watching you. There's always somebody, even our kids at home, they're watching how we do things. So there's always a lesson being taught, regardless of whether it's in the forefront of your mind. And, we talked about that when we beat the dead horse last night. Like, you guys got to always do what's right because there's people watching you. And chances are your peer's not ever going to come to Choctaw Road or take a step in another church if they see that you're not living your life that way. If they see that you're just beating down the next guy or the next girl, nobody wants to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So we're creating a culture here and instilling in our young people and in ourselves the correct way to do things, that they can continue reaching out to their peers.
That's good, man. Well, Dan, I appreciate you teaching our students and coming in and talking about it today. So
yeah.
Love you, man.
Love you.
Cool.
Love you guys.
Well, that's all we got for today. So we'll see you guys next week. Sweet.
Sweet.
That's good, man.
Thanks, brother.